When most people hear the name Chuck Norris, they probably think of jokes first. They think of impossible one-liners, over-the-top memes, and a man so tough that the internet basically turned him into a superhuman legend. But behind all the jokes is a real story, and honestly, it's a pretty wild one. Because long before Chuck Norris became a meme, he was already a real-life martial arts champion, Hollywood action star, and one of the most recognizable tough guys in American pop culture. Chuck Norris was born Carlos Ray Norris in Ryan, Oklahoma, on March 10, 1940. His early life was not some larger-than-life action movie beginning. It was much more ordinary and, in some ways, difficult. But that background makes what came next even more impressive. He went from a modest upbringing to military service, then from martial arts competitor to movie star, and eventually into one of the most unexpectedly legendary pop culture icons ever created. Before the movies, before television, before the internet jokes, Chuck Norris joined the United States Air Force in 1958. He served as an air policeman and was stationed at Osan Air Base in South Korea. And that's where everything changed. While overseas, he began training in martial arts, especially Tang Soo Do, and even picked up the nickname Chuck, which stayed with him for the rest of his life. That period was the foundation for everything that followed. He didn't become Chuck Norris overnight. He built that image through discipline, repetition, and years of serious training. When he returned to the United States, he kept training and got deeper into competition. At first, he lost matches. And that part matters, because it makes the story real. He wasn't introduced to the world as unbeatable. He became elite through improvement. Over time, he developed into one of the top karate competitors in the country and won major titles, including the professional middleweight karate champion title, which he held for 6 consecutive years. Chuck Norris wasn't just good at martial arts. He helped build a brand around martial arts in America. He founded his own schools, taught celebrities, and developed his own martial arts systems, including Chun Kuk Do, later renamed the Chuck Norris system. His reputation wasn't built on movie magic first. It was built in real dojos, real tournaments, and real competition. That gave him something many action stars never truly had: authenticity. When audiences saw Chuck Norris throw a kick on screen, it looked convincing because it was convincing. He wasn't pretending to be dangerous. He had already proven himself. One of the biggest turning points in Chuck Norris's career came when he appeared opposite Bruce Lee in Way of the Dragon in 1972. That movie introduced Norris to a huge international audience, and the final fight scene between Bruce Lee and Chuck Norris became one of the most famous martial arts showdowns in film history. For a lot of people, that was the moment Chuck Norris truly entered movie legend territory. Think about how important that is. Bruce Lee is one of the most iconic martial artists ever, and Chuck Norris was chosen as the man to stand across from him in one of Lee's most memorable fights. That didn't happen by accident. It happened because Norris had already earned serious respect in the martial arts world. From there, Chuck Norris moved deeper into acting. He took roles in action films throughout the 1970s and especially the 1980s, when he became one of the defining tough guy stars of that era. Movies like Good Guys Wear Black, Lone Wolf McQuade, Missing in Action, and The Delta Force helped build his screen persona. Calm, tough, patriotic, and nearly impossible to stop. This was the golden age of larger-than-life action heroes. Arnold Schwarzenegger had his lane, Sylvester Stallone had his lane, and Chuck Norris had his own brand of toughness, less flashy, more grounded, but still powerful. He often played the kind of character who didn't need to say much. He just showed up, handled the threat, and walked away like it was another Tuesday. What made Norris different was that he projected control. He wasn't usually the wildest guy in the room. He was the most composed. That calm confidence became one of his trademarks. Then came the role that made him a household name for an entirely new generation: Walker, Texas Ranger. The series began in 1993 and centered on Cordell Walker, a Texas Ranger who fought crime with martial arts, moral certainty, and old-school toughness. The show ran for 8 seasons and became one of the defining TV action series of the 1990s. If you grew up in that era, Walker wasn't just a TV show, it was a whole vibe. Every episode felt like justice was guaranteed because Chuck Norris was on the case. There was no mystery about who had the upper hand. The only mystery was how long the bad guys were going to last, and that role cemented his image permanently. To millions of viewers, Chuck Norris was no longer just an actor. He was the ultimate symbol of old-school strength and righteousness. Then the internet happened. And somehow, Chuck Norris found a second life, not as just a movie star or martial artist, but as a meme. Around 2005, Chuck Norris facts exploded online. These were fake, exaggerated jokes presenting Norris as an unstoppable force of nature. Things like the idea that Chuck Norris doesn't do push-ups, he pushes the earth down. The jokes were absurd, ridiculous, and totally over the top, and that was exactly why they worked. The amazing part is that this could have gone terribly wrong. A lot of celebrities would have ignored it, fought it, or tried too hard to control it. But Chuck Norris mostly rolled with it. That gave the meme even more life. Instead of damaging his image, it reinvented him for a younger generation that may not have even seen his classic movies, or Walker, Texas Ranger. That's incredibly rare. Most stars get one major era. Chuck Norris got several. He was a competitor, then a film star, then a TV star, then an internet legend. So why did Chuck Norris stand out so much? Part of it was the martial arts skill. Part of it was the screen presence, part of it was timing, but a big part of it was simplicity. Chuck Norris represented a very specific kind of hero. He wasn't overly complicated. He didn't need long speeches. He didn't need a lot of emotional chaos. He was a direct answer to a problem. That image connected with audiences for decades. And even when action movies changed, Chuck Norris remained recognizable. The world might move on to superheroes, giant franchises, and heavy CGI, but Chuck Norris still felt like a symbol of a more straightforward kind of action hero. There's another side to the story, too. Beyond movies and television, Norris also worked on martial arts education and philanthropy. He founded Kickstart Kids, a program aimed at helping young people build discipline and self-esteem through martial arts. That piece of his legacy matters because it shows that the training and philosophy weren't just for show business. He wanted martial arts to be a tool for character development, too. That often gets overshadowed by the memes, but it deserves attention. Because underneath the pop culture image was a man who believed martial arts could genuinely help shape lives. Chuck Norris had one of the strangest and most successful career evolutions of any celebrity in modern culture. He started as a real competitor, became a respected martial artist, broke into Hollywood, became an action icon, dominated TV, and then somehow transformed into a global internet legend. Very few people become bigger than their own work. Chuck Norris did. His name became shorthand for toughness itself. That's bigger than a movie role. That's bigger than a TV show. That's cultural immortality. And whether you know him from old martial arts films, Walker, Texas Ranger reruns, or internet jokes, one thing is clear. Chuck Norris didn't just have a career. He became a myth. So the next time somebody drops a Chuck Norris joke, remember, behind the meme was a real story. A guy from Oklahoma, an Air Force serviceman, a martial arts champion, a movie star, a television icon, and one of the few people in entertainment history whose legend somehow got even bigger in the age of the internet.